Good evening and welcome to the June 8th, 2015 Troy City Council meeting. We are pleased and honored this evening to have Pastor Dan Lewis with us to lead us in the invocation, and it's just appropriate and fitting that he would be here this evening. And I would ask him to come forward for the invocation. Please stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance after. Good evening, Pastor.
Heavenly Father, it is always with reverence and respect that we speak to you. We thank you for this city and for the leaders and the citizens of this city. We know that your word tells us that unless you build a house, the laborers labor in vain. Unless you guard the city, those who guard it in vain. So we do pray for this city. We thank you for the privilege of living here. We ask your blessing upon our council, upon our citizens, upon their agenda tonight. And in all of these things, we trust that we honor you. In the name of Christ Jesus our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. And if you could hang with us for a little while, we have a special presentation this evening. City Council meeting is now called to order. The roll call, Ms. Dixon.
Mayor Slater?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Campbell?
Here.
Councilmember Gottlieb?
Here.
Councilmember Henderson?
Here.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Here.
Councilmember Pennington?
Here.
Councilmember Teets?
Did not hear from Councilman Teets, so we'll wait. I'm sure he'll be here shortly. Our first order of business this evening is certificates of recognition and special presentations. C1 is a presentation by St. Nicholas Greek Orthodox Church on OPAFest, the presentation of Cindy Stewart, the Community Affairs Director. Good evening, Cindy.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. It's my pleasure tonight to bring up for you the Kaltsunis girls. They have a little presentation for you. Who's first? Do you want to introduce yourself?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Sia. I'm Katerina. And I'm Sophia. Our St. Nicholas Greek Orthodox Church is having our annual Opa Fest June 26th, 27th, and 28th. We will have food, live entertainment, and children activities all weekend. We will have X Factor's Jeff Goot on Saturday, 8 p.m. Great cooking demos will be all weekend. The Detroit News will compete in Greek Iron Chef Saturday, 7 p.m. Madeline Trefan will do wine pairing on Sunday at 3 o'clock. The Lugo Mavis eating contest will also be Sunday at 2:30. Opa.
Thank you, girls. Is that it? I noticed there were some baked goods up here. Did anybody want to talk about those, or are we? Oh, it's for us. Oh. Okay. Well, we look forward to that. Thank you, and look forward to being at the fest this weekend. Thank you very much. Next is C2, which is a proclamation for Pastor Dan Lewis from the Troy Christian Chapel, celebrating 34 years of service. And if I could meet Pastor Lewis at the podium, I'd like to make a presentation to him. Well, Pastor, this is certainly an honor and a privilege for me to present to you this evening a proclamation in recognition of 34 years of service at the Troy Christian Chapel. And as everyone can see from the screen, this is a pretty lengthy proclamation. And I've always said, when the words are small, that means that somebody was very important or spent a lot of years doing something. So congratulations to you. And if I don't want to read all of this to everyone this evening, but I do think there are some important points that I think I would like to recognize. And whereas Pastor Dan Lewis was born in Billings, Montana on April 7th, 1950. I don't think you mind me saying that, no. And the youngest of 4 siblings.
Yes.
His education began in a 2-room schoolhouse north of Billings. Pastor Dan graduated from North Salinas High School in 1968 and attended Conquerors Bible College in Portland, Oregon, where he met Peggy, the love of his life.
That's right.
After college, it goes on to say that you attended Caribbean Bible Institute.
I was a professor there.
Professor there. And whereas Pastor Dan and Peggy's children, 3 sons, reflect their journeys of ministry. Jamie, born in Indiana, Travis, born in Oregon, and Chad, born in Mississippi. That's quite an accomplishment.
All different colleges.
All different colleges. It was while teaching in Mississippi that Professor Lewis met a student from Troy, and this meeting changed the direction of their lives. The deacon board of Troy Christian Chapel asked him to become the pastor of their church, and thus began what has become a 34-year pastoral ministry. And whereas Pastor Dan began his ministry of pastoring the congregation of Troy Christian Chapel in October of 1981, when the church was on Big Beaver Road. They expanded and built the first part of the present chapel on Long Lake Road in 1986. We go on to talk about your greatest blessings and survive 3 church building projects, which is another major accomplishment. But now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Troy extends special recognition to Pastor Dan Lewis for his selfless and tireless service to our community and his congregation at Troy Christian Chapel. And be it further resolved that the Troy City Council and all of the Troy residents congratulate Pastor Dan Lewis for his 34 years of service and commitment, and wish him and Peggy continued success, of course, in all of your endeavors, especially doing mission work abroad as they continue to serve the Lord and kingdom of God. Pastor Dan and Peggy will be missed, not only by his congregation, but the entire community. It's presented this 8th day of June, 2015, signed by myself, all members of City Council. Congratulations, and thank you so much.
It's very much an honor to be with you tonight. When we first moved here, Long Lake Road was a 2-lane road with a 8-foot ditch on one side. And in fact, a number of roads in Troy were kind of like that. But 34 years later, all that's filled in, and there's a lot of other things filled in too. And I'm very grateful. Thank you very kindly, Mayor, and to the council as well. Thank you.
Thank you. We were all wondering why we were so crowded here this evening, and now we know why. We'll pause for a second if those that wish to leave would like to follow Pastor Lewis and congratulate him out in the hallway.
There we go. It's very sweet.
I wasn't expecting our next presenter to go with Pastor Lewis.
Let's move on to the garden.
Next is C3, which is a legislative update by Senator Nolenberg. Good evening, Marty.
Good evening. Well, thank you. That's what happens when the pastor comes in. You have to follow him out. But, well, thank you, Mayor and Council, for giving me this opportunity to give you a legislative update. I was elected back in November and took office in January. The Governor Snyder gave the state address mid-January. He presented his budget early February. So we've been working very, very hard since then. And just want to talk about a couple things. The budget is done, and as Governor Snyder has done the previous 4 years, he's gotten it done right around this time of year. And that's significant and important because when it comes to the stakeholders involved, such as the school boards and you guys here, at the local level, other stakeholders, they are looking for a budget. Your budgets begin on July 1st, and so it's important that we get our budget done in time so that you can plan for your budget. By law, we don't have to get it done till the end of, until October 1st, so we got this budget done way ahead of time for those reasons. So I'm proud of the fact that we got a budget done. The governor now needs to sign it, but it's essentially finished. And it's a great budget, in my belief, a lot of bipartisanship. You'll be happy to note that there's $400 million being put into roads. It's a small piece. We still have a long way to go. But the legislature, at least the Senate, I felt that roads are a priority. And unfortunately, the ballot proposal, I shouldn't say unfortunately, the ballot proposal did not pass. But that doesn't mean that the road funding problem doesn't exist. It still does exist, so we're still going to need to address that. But in the short term, this budget puts $400 million into roads. It also funded a trooper school, which is important because we talked about the weight limits of our trucks, and so the more state police officers that we have that can man these weigh stations, then we can better monitor the weight of these trucks. So that's an important step in helping our roads as well. There's also increased revenue sharing dollars. I'm sure you'll be happy about that. $1.24 billion is into revenue sharing. Troy will see a 2.9% bump this year, so you should be happy about that. I'm sure you put a lot of that in the roads yourself. And by the way, you guys are doing a great job with roads. Appreciate that. We also put $37 million into career and tech education, and we know that jobs are important. Education is important, but not everybody is going to go to college, so career tech is an important piece of the governor's budget, and the legislature adopted that piece as well. We also put $31.5 million increase in third grade reading. It's important that our kids are able to read, and studies have shown that if kids can't read by the third grade, they just are never quite able to catch up, so we put some dollars into that program. We also provided a bipartisan budget for K-12 education. In fact, Troy got a $25 increase per kid. I'm not sure what that amounts to aggregate, but it's, they were pleased with it. And I worked with our local superintendent here, and so they were pleased with that effort. A 1.2% increase for higher ed. So we put a lot of focus and attention on education, and we know that's important, and part of the fact that Troy got great schools. We also put $94 million into a rainy day fund. We now have about $500 million in a rainy day fund, and you may ask, well, why is that important? It's important because as the state is able to leverage its credit rating, the creditors are looking at our balance, our books, and they want to know that we have money in a rainy day account. And if we can improve our bond rating, the state can borrow money at a lower rate, obviously saving taxpayers. And I know this body here can appreciate that because you guys are at AAA. And so it's important that we do put money aside in a rainy day account. So that's sort of the budget update I have for you there. I should mention that the overall budget is $54 billion. The general fund budget is just shy of $10 billion. The general fund budget is at about the same level as it was back in 2007. The general fund has gone up, the general purpose has gone up largely due to federal dollars coming in, but the amount of money that we can appropriate as state senators and state representatives is just shy of $10 billion. So we've certainly lived within our means. The challenge getting more money out of a general fund, so I think this is a strong budget. The other important issue, obviously, are roads, and I highlighted that briefly, but while this proposal did not pass, the voters still want their roads fixed. I mean, we don't have many obligations at the state. Education, obviously, is important. Fire police is important. Public safety is important. And roads are also very important. It's good for tourism. It's good for moving commerce. It's good for getting our kids across town. It's good for you and I, all of us here to get to our place of work. Good to get our kids to the places they need to get to. So roads are critically important. And this legislature, I know, recognizes that despite the failure of the ballot proposal. And my comment on the ballot proposal, there were just too many buckets that the voters were not able to swallow. So as a result, what we're going to be doing is coming up with a road solution. The House has come out with a proposal already. The Senate is taking a more deliberative approach in all of this. We had a caucus meeting last week, and we have a series of 3 more caucuses within the next 3 weeks or so. Everything is on the table. Everything is being reviewed. We will have a proposal led by my Senate colleagues, and it's a priority for us, but we want to make sure we have it done right. I don't think you're going to see the voters, going back to the voters, I think you're going to, in fact, I know you'll see us doing something. I think you expect that from us, and that's what you're going to see out of this budget. Obviously, the challenge is coming up with 20 votes in the Senate, and I would argue that the 250,000 people that I represent, there's probably 250,000 different opinions as to how we should fix our roads. And so that becomes the challenge for us, just like the 7 of you here, and it's coming up with the magic number 4 to get something passed. And so I'm optimistic, and I'm very hopeful that we'll have a road funding proposal. I know it's important to you. It's important to me as well. Finally, I want to introduce a couple folks. I have a couple staff people here. Sean Civitone, who was the featured speaker, and I'm sorry I took his spot. I hope he's not too mad at me. We also have Michael Delfinas. Michael, why don't you stand up? And the nice thing about Michael's an intern. He grew up in Michigan, moved to Florida. His dad helped set up Ave Maria College near Naples. And Michael took an internship last fall to the Heritage Foundation. He's actually at the university, going to school at the university as well. Took an internship at the Heritage Foundation. Not sure why he didn't want to stay there. Instead, he chose to spend his summer here with me. So when I asked him, he said, well, I just want a different experience. But, without young people like him, it's difficult for me to do my job, and it's great to have young people kind of influence the work that I do and get a fresh perspective, and happy to have him for the summer. Thank you. Also, we have office hours. We have 2 dates this month, June 26th from 10 to noon, and then also on June 29th from 5:30 to 7:30. They're both at the Troy Community Center. Sean will be the person moderating that, so if anybody wants to has any issue that they want to talk about, Sean will be holding office hours on those 2 dates. We'll have others. We have them all through the community, and And so with that, I don't have any further questions, but I'm happy to take questions, so I'll leave that with you, Mayor.
Thank you, Marty. Any questions for Senator? See, just one real quick question. All of those are important issues, obviously, but this time of the year, we get quite a few upset residents here in Troy about fireworks. And could I just get a pledge from you that you're working on kind of doing something about that problem for us?
Yeah, I was in the legislature when that legislation was passed. I was one of the few that did not vote for it, and I was criticized for don't you care about fireworks, and to me it just didn't make a whole lot of sense. I understand the concerns that you have, and I think Dave, you put out an email post or a blog on your blog the other day, and I appreciate your comments on that too.
Thanks, Marty.
Thank you.
Next is C4, a presentation on the Garden Party 2015 with the presentation by Shannon Lewert from the Treasurer's Office and Cindy Stewart, the Community Affairs Director. And for those of you that walk in the west entrance,
East.
the east, I should say, the east entrance, we have a beautiful garden there, and I'll let you tell us the story. Thank you,
Okay.
Shannon.
Good evening. I'm here to introduce the 2015 Employee Garden. Last year, an idea was planted to clean up the atrium. Our biggest hurdles were to clean up the overgrown area and be able to plant in a short amount of time. Throughout the season, we were able to learn what would grow and what to give up on. We also learned that we needed to improve the soil. This year, we had an amazing surprise. Mike Potyak from Parks took the initiative to give us a reclaimed brick path. He thought enough about the project to want to help by giving us a safer place to walk. He and a couple summer laborers removed all the stone and replaced them with brick. The funny part is, he said he didn't have time to make it fancy. But to our surprise, it is beautiful and is now accessible to everyone in any kind of shoe at any time of day. And an extra bonus, there's less weeding. Our goal this year is to let everyone know that they are welcome to help themselves, even if they did not participate in the planting. We are now in our second monthly salad day lunches. Employees are sitting together and getting to know one another, and at least once a month, the lounge is full of staff. Our garden has already provided a mixed green salad for the May lunch. Once the idea of Salad Day in the garden grew, a sharing table was created. An expertly decorated table was set up, and extras from the employee garden were shared, as well as vegetables from our own gardens. Vegetables were donated and planted by us on our own time, and quite a few employees were more than willing to donate a couple dollars to purchase flowers and give that garden that finished pop of color that took great to amazing. As you can see, we are learning, the garden is growing, and from the very first day plants were brought in, employees are stopping to look at what we've done. Residents are often seen looking out the windows to see what we've done. It's exciting to see a simple idea grow into something that everyone can appreciate. We are taking pride in our surroundings, and the atrium is a valuable space to give a great first impression of the employees who work here. We are making a difference, growing ideas, one seed at a time.
And special thanks has to be given to Shannon's dad, John Major, a retiree from the Troy Parks Department. He grew everything that was planted there from seed.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Great job. C5 is a presentation on the 60th birthday celebration. Cindy Stewart, Community Affairs Director, will make a presentation.
Good evening again. As everyone knows, we've been preparing all year for our 60th anniversary, and a lot of our departments, plus the Troy Nature Society and the Historic Village, they've been all doing events throughout the year. And now it's time to have our big 60th birthday bash. But first, a little bit about what's coming up right before then. The Recreation Department is doing a vintage baseball game, which is free to the residents. June 13th at 1 o'clock at the Community Center at the ball fields outside of the Community Center. It's going to be a game between the Rochester Grangers and the Corktown Shamrocks. Players are going to use vintage equipment, no gloves, and be wearing uniforms from the area. Harvey's Hut is going to provide on-site food and drinks for sale, and the Heritage Concert Band, they're going to provide a short music program. The Nature Society, they're sponsoring the Baldock Mountain Ramblers concert. That's going to be June 18th from 6:30 to 8:30 at the Nature Center. The Detroit-based Acoustic Quintet is going to be performing. All ages are welcome. And then the library is doing on Saturday the 20th at 1 and 2:15 Enchanted Storytime, part of the 60th anniversary, and that's going to entertain kids 3 and up with fairy tales. Then the city birthday party on Saturday the 20th is from 4 to 11 p.m. at Boland Park. It is sponsored by Beaumont Children's Hospital, the city, and Oakland County Parks. And our schedule events from 4 to 7, we've got Sugar Bush Farms, Farmer Joe's going to have a petting farm. We're going to have Oakland County is going to have all their inflatables. We're going to have clowns with face painting and balloons. That's patty cake and flapjack. We'll have birthday cake and then food trucks so people can buy food for dinner. Police, fire, and DPW are all going to have vehicles. Beaumont Hospital is going to land their helicopter on one of our ball fields, and they're going to also have an ambulance and fun info booths. We're going to have a photo station to take pictures of everybody. It'll be the Many Faces of Troy, and then you'll be able to go and see all the pictures on our website. Dan the Creature Man will have live animals for the kids, and we're going to have old-fashioned fun and games and crafts. We have special entertainment. The Athens Redhawks, Jeff McCoy has put together a spirit band. They're going to perform at 4 o'clock on the stage. The Crossroads Family Band will be at 4:30, and then the police will do a canine demo at 5:30. Then at 7's our premier band, Carl Cafagna and Sound Love Concert. They're going to do songs from every decade from 55 until 2015. Then at 9 o'clock, when it gets dark, we're going to have a drive-in movie, Disney's McFarlane USA. Also, we'll have most all of our departments will be there with booths giving out information like the Aquatic Center, Nature Center, Historic Village, the dog park, recreation. The Nature Center and the Historic Village, they do a discovery hunt, a scavenger hunt all summer, so you'll be able to buy booklets there. And then for the 50th, we also are bringing back our Summer Sensation concert series. We've got 4 Thursdays right outside, right across from the Aquatic Center, kitty corner from the police department. We've got 4 bands, and we have food trucks coming in. I think that's it. So we hope to see you all there on the 20th.
Thank you, Cindy. Next is C6, LDFA extension update. Dick Carlisle, our planning consultant, will bring us up to date on this important project.
Mayor, members of council,
Good evening.
a little humbling to know that I'm older than the city, but,
Me too.
well, I don't believe that. Well, listen, I'm very happy to report to the council that we are nearing completion of the process of amending and extending the Local Development Financing Authority plan for the Automation Alley Smart Park. And as you know, this has been a complex process, it being a joint LDFA, having to find a satellite, which we have, of course, done that so successfully with Port Huron, and then addressing all the requirements of both the legislation as well as the additional requirements placed on this from MEDC. But we've been able to do all of that. The really exciting thing is that this joint LDFA extended for 15 years. We are only one of 3 in the entire state to have received that approval. The Spark which is in the Ann Arbor Ypsilanti, is one of the other entities, and then the Marquette Houghton Hancock is the third. So we're only one of three in the entire state. That in and of itself brings quite a bit of notoriety to our group here. And I'm also happy to report that Port Huron has been moving forward very well on their plans, getting their Smart Zone plan completed. They have also approved the agreement with their Smart Zone agreement with MEDC and have submitted that. So we're very pleased with their progress and with the cooperation that has been shown. What is this going to accomplish? Really three things. First of all, it's going to provide a long-term funding source for Automation Alley with our stated intention of keeping Automation Alley in Troy as one of our centerpieces of our economic development program. The second thing is also to provide a long-term funding source for the infrastructure that is going to be needed to support the park. And that will also be, again, a reliable source of funding for infrastructure. But finally, and perhaps more intangible, but will become more recognizable as it does continue to bring further attention and notoriety to Troy as a place to do business, as an excellent place to create new businesses, to grow existing businesses, and to create jobs. And I think some of the programming that you will see coming out of a stronger relationship with our joint LDFA with Southfield and Automation Alley, along with our satellite, will really be some exciting things coming down the road. So consequently, those are the three things that will be accomplished through all of this. Now, in terms of the timeline, which I know that you have before you, the revised draft plan has been submitted to both cities for review of city staffs. We are targeting somewhere around the third week of July to have a meeting of our joint LDFA board and our individual LDFA boards, meaning our joint Southfield Troy board and our individual Southfield and individual Troy LDFA boards to meet and to review the plan and recommend it to the respective city councils for approval. All of this is leading to an August date in the latter part of August to bring before both councils to have a public hearing and to have an adoption of the plan. So with this timeline, we're still in great shape in terms of the timing, and we will have this submitted to MEDC. We'll submit it before the effective period of the plan, but we'll have it in plenty of time to meet our deadlines. And so consequently, we are moving forward. It's going smoothly. We've had to work through a lot of technical issues. I've really appreciated the assistance that have been provided with City Manager Kishnick and Mark Miller in helping work through some of these difficult issues. But we've done it, and we think we have a pretty solid draft at this point in time. So I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dick. Any questions for Mr. Carlisle? I know it's been a lot of work, and we certainly appreciate it. It's an important part to the city to have Automation Alley here with their headquarters. So thank you for what you've done. Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes the presentations this evening. There are no carryover items, no public hearings. I don't see that anyone has signed up for public comment for items on the agenda from Troy residents or businesses. There are no postponed items, so we will move to regular business. I-1 is board and committee appointments. There are none this evening. So we will move to I-2. There is a yellow sheet on the table this evening that speaks about 2B, so I will defer to Mayor Pro Tem Campbell to clean up some issues with his appointments.
Take one day off, and this is what happens. On May 11th, we did make a couple people, unfortunately, they went to the wrong committee, so what I'd like to do is reverse that today. And for the Parks and Recreation Board, I'd like to put the nomination out for Elizabeth Slifkin for that board, and her position would expire 7/31/2016. And on the Traffic Committee, I would like to put forth Kathleen Reagan, and she would, would expire at 7/31/2016 as well. So we can put those in and vote on those, I think, with the next meeting, I hope. They're resolved.
Is there a second to that? Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Campbell and supported by Councilman Henderson that we complete the reversal that was done on May the 11th, 2015, as stated by him.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Mayor Slater?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Campbell?
Yes.
Councilmember Gottlieb?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Councilmember Pennington?
Yes.
Councilmember Teetz?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The other ones?
Mayor
Anybody
Pro
else?
Tem Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor. On the Historic District Commission, I'd like to put Timothy McGee's name up for a reappointment, and his new term would expire May 15th, 2018.
Support.
Are you going to do any other ones?
I am, yes. Let me do them all?
Yeah, let's do them all.
Okay. On the Personnel Board, I'd like to put Edna Abraham to be reappointed, also Terry P. Knight to be reappointed, as well as Lorraine New to be reappointed to that Personnel Board, and their positions will all expire April 30th, 2018. And I think that's all that we have for tonight. That's it.
Support.
Okay, Councilman Pennington, you support?
Yes.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Campbell and supported by Councilman Pennington that we nominate for the Historic District Commission Timothy McGee for the term that expires 5/15/2018, and nominate for the Personnel Board Edna Abraham, Terry Knight, and Lorraine New for the terms that expire 4/30/2018. Discussion. The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Mayor Pro Tem Campbell?
Yes.
Councilmember Gottlieb?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Councilmember Pennington?
Yes.
Councilmember Teetz?
Yes.
Mayor Slater?
Yes, motion passes. I3 is a request for closed session. There is none this evening. I4, an update of the city attorney's employment agreement. I will make the presentation that we went into closed session to discuss the city attorney's employment review. And during that review, we have reached an agreement that is attached to this agenda that I think is long overdue. And I will therefore move the resolution. The attached employment agreement is hereby approved, and the mayor and clerk are authorized to sign the document on behalf of the city of Troy. A copy of the executed agreement shall be attached to the original meeting minutes of this meeting.
Support.
Moved by the chair, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Campbell, that we approve I-4 as read and printed in the agenda this evening. Discussion. The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Gottlieb?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Councilmember Pennington?
Yes.
Councilmember Teetz?
Yes.
Mayor Slater?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Campbell?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you, Lori, for all your work you do. I-5, Troy Roads Rock, 2015 County Road Concrete Slab Replacement, additional construction agreement, Big Beaver, Coolidge, and Crooks, with an introduction of Steve Vandette, the city engineer. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and
I see
Council.
Kurt's with you also.
Yes, good evening. I-5 is a cost participation agreement with the Board of Road Commission for Oakland County, also known as RCOC. It's for an additional $200,000 for our 2015 Troy Roads Rock program. This additional funding comes from a recent one-time appropriation of $2 million from Oakland County to RCOC to buy equipment. This appropriation enabled the RCOC to reallocate $2 million that they had already budgeted for equipment, enabled them to reallocate that to fix county roads. The RCOC notified us that we were in line to receive another $200,000 contribution towards our program. In April, they had previously allocated $200,000 for us. So this doubles their financial share. This brings the total 2014 funding for the city, RCOC, and the county sources to $2.804 million. And it breaks down, that $2.804 million breaks down, $669,000 is from county and RCOC sources. This is the combined $200,000. It's tri-party. It's everything from RCOC, and there's a little bit of county contribution in there as well. $669,000 from the county. Our share allocation is $2,135,000, and RCOC is also contributing striping, pavement markings, traffic signal loops, and testing services. The value of these items we estimate at 10% of the program, approximately $140,000 for the value of those services. So the total contribution from RCOC is approximately $809,000. We are recommending that the additional $200,000 be allocated for Big Beaver between Adams and I-75, and this will bring the total expenditure amount for Big Beaver this year to $1.4 million. Big Beaver construction will be getting underway shortly, and this year DPW, assisted by engineering, is handling the construction. We flipped roles this year. DPW is taking the lead, and Kurt is here to give us a brief status report on the construction so far and talk about the upcoming Big Beaver construction.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you, Steve. So Steve, as he said, I drew the short straw this year to take on the lead of this project. But as Steve mentioned, the project limits for this year for Troy Roads Rock include Big Beaver, John R., and DeQuinder. DeQuinder is complete. It was completed in May, which was right on our estimated schedule. John R., all lanes are poured, so all lanes will be open June 12th. This is 2 weeks ahead of our estimated schedule. That is really to do with the amount of time it takes for the concrete to cure. We're at about 3 days right now, so that's a major contributor to ahead of schedule. And then the big one is Big Beaver. It begins June 15th. That is right on schedule with communications with Somerset Collection and looking at other traffic studies suggested that the best time to do Big Beaver was when school is out. School is out this Friday and will begin the following Monday. So we're right on schedule. We've broken up Big Beaver into a couple different phases. Phase 1 will be Big Beaver itself. The project limits are from Adams to I-75. Phase 2 includes around Somerset Collection North, the Cunningham and Lakeview. And then Phase 3 is Coolidge northbound from just south of Big Beaver to Cunningham. A tentative schedule for Big Beaver, again, begins on June 15th. We will have one lane open eastbound, so that's Adams, heading from Adams to I-75. Then if you were to head from I-75 to Adams, 2 lanes will be open. The week of June 29th, the road behind Somerset North will begin construction. That's Cunningham and Lakeview. 1 lane will be open in each direction during that construction. On July 6th, from Adams to I-75, the 2 lanes will be open. And again, from I-75 heading towards Adams, one lane will be open, so we're flip-flopping that. The idea behind this is to give motorists an opportunity to escape the construction, if you will. If they get tied up in traffic, they can go onto the other direction and at least have 2 lanes open. I will mention that there will be some closures on that one lane, or excuse me, the 2 lanes open. Those will primarily be non-peak hours. We've coordinated with the contractor to pour the cement. That cement truck takes up an additional lane that'll be during non-peak hours. After that, we head to Coolidge Golf Field to Cunningham, the week of August 10th. 1 lane will remain open on northbound during that construction period. And then we're estimating that all lanes will be open at the end of August, just in time for school to start. This schedule was put together working with the contractor, Delisio Contracting, who we've had for 4 years now. They've agreed to start early, 6 a.m., and work late into the evening. They also promise to always have a presence on Big Beaver, weather permitting, so you'll always see either them removing concrete or pouring concrete. The objective is to remove for 2 days, pour for 2 days, remove for 2 days, pour for 2 days. So weather permitting, you will always see a presence. Again, the schedule was put together based on a 3 to 5 day break period, what we call. That's when the concrete cures. We test it to make sure it reaches the maximum PSI before we open it up to traffic. Again, this year we will have the continued public outreach. Bob Schultz, who's a part-time employee with the DPW, used to be on the Planning Commission, will be going door to door to the businesses to give them a flyer indicating of the tentative schedule, information if they need temporary signs for their businesses, and always reminding them for continuous updates to visit the Troy Roads Rock. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Good job. I think it was very self-explanatory. Big Beaver is going to be a mess for the most of the summer. Pretty much. Thank you. Thank you. Somebody like to move the resolution? Councilman Pennington.
I'd like to move I-5 Troy Roads Rock, 2015 County Road concrete slab replacement, additional construction agreement, Big Beaver, Coolidge to Crooks, as printed.
Support.
Moved by Councilman Pennington, supported by Councilman Henderson, that we approve I-5 as printed in the agenda. Discussion. The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Councilmember Pennington?
Yes.
Councilmember Teets?
Yes.
Mayor Slater?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Campbell?
Yes.
Councilmember Gottlieb?
Yes.
Motion passes. Next is the consent agenda. Does anyone on council wish to pull a consent agenda item this evening? Councilman Henderson.
I'd like to move all items on the consent agenda as printed. Support.
By Councilman Henderson, supported by Councilman Gottlieb, that we approve all items on the consent agenda as presented in the packet this evening. Discussion. The vote, Ms. Dixon?
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Councilmember Pennington?
Yes.
Councilmember Teets?
Yes.
Mayor Slater?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Campbell?
Yes.
Councilmember Gottlieb?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Motion passes. If you were here on a consent agenda item this evening, they've all been approved. There are no memorandums and future council agenda items this evening, so we will move to public comment for items not on the agenda from Troy residents and businesses. And I will call on James Savage, Troy resident. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. When I came in, I thought I was going to have a big live audience.
I know.
They left. I would like to comment on my favorite subject, which is dancing. And at the end of April, we had the Troy High School Senior Citizen Prom, which was the best success yet. And, you know, when you get young high school students singing Bobby Darin and Frank Sinatra songs to our band, it's got to be good. And it was excellent. If you want to check on the website schoollifetroy.com, recent events and seniors and prom. The photographer of the school newspaper was there, and he took like over 100 pictures and did a fantastic write-up, and it was really good. Also, the community media videotaped the whole thing, and it airs every Wednesday from 3:30 to 6 o'clock. It goes for 2.5 hours. Now, I think most people don't want to watch old people dancing for 2.5 hours. So I would suggest if you're going to watch it, record it first, and then you skip through most of it, and you'll see 2 generations of people just having a lot of fun for the whole evening, and it was very successful. And of course, if you stay with it until at the end, then I get to sing at the end, the last number. To me, the best part of the evening, because I don't always get that opportunity. Also, I'd like to remind everyone that we're still having our Thursday dances, and I would like to take this opportunity to promote it. Every second Thursday, every month, it's a dance, and kind of like to promote it not just as a dance, but as a social event. So even if you don't dance, it's once a month. You can meet your friends down there. We serve coffee and cookies, etc. The music is great, and we would like it to become just a community event and make it a social event for the evening. And if you don't dance, we'll teach you enough to get you on the floor, and that's a promise. It costs you $6, so you can't go wrong. So we would like to keep that going. We have got it booked more or less through the whole year now, every second Thursday. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. I think I'm going to have to watch that and see you sing at the end. Any response from city administration or council this evening? Councilwoman Hoderick.
I stopped into the senior citizen prom this year. I live not far from the high school, and been around teens enough to know when they're having a good time and when they're just doing a tour of duty. They were having a good time. And the cross-generational interaction was just really fun to watch. It is what community is about, and we are a big city. Achieving that small town feel in an event is a challenge, and you did achieve that there. There was great work with the school administration, the choir director. You had a jazz ensemble from the high school that joined the regular one. And these are the kinds of events that just keep the community strong, and I appreciate you, Mr. Savage, for doing that, and I had a great time that night, so thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? There are no council referrals this evening, so we will move to council comments. Any comments from council this evening? Councilman Pennington.
I have one. As many of you know, my younger brother Greg died suddenly 10 days ago of a heart attack. My family and I wanted to thank all of the people who work for the city of Troy and all the citizens who called, sent cards, came to either the funeral service or stopped by Pennington Collision to offer their condolences. Greg was an artist, well known not only in Metro Detroit, but his talents were sought nationwide. The outpouring from the community was amazing, and we want to thank you again.
Thank you, Ed. I lost my brother. It's a tough thing. It's a tough thing. Any other comments from council? I would like you to go get your heart valve checked, though, Ed.
Oh, it's on the to-do list.
Okay. Next is reports. Any comments on any of the reports on the packet this evening? I do have one comment on P2B. Hopefully, everyone has read that press release from the fire department regarding fireworks. I did get an email from a lady, I think everyone got it, that asked us if we would see if there was some way that the media could help get that press release published somehow. So I would just maybe reach out to the administration if there's some way that we can make sure that we talk to our contacts at Troy Times and the Gazette and see if they could help us get that published. It would be appreciated. I don't see that anyone has signed up for comments on items on or not on the agenda from members of the public outside of Troy. There is no closed session this evening, so we are adjourned. Thank you for coming this evening.